Hey everyone, I am excited to introduce you to today's guest because I actually had the first conversation with him just about a week ago. And I left that conversation really inspired because not only has this gentleman done some really exciting things within chiropractic, I shouldn't maybe tell you this yet, but he's been in practice as a chiropractor 50 years. And that is double the amount of time that I've been in practice. And to meet someone who is inspired, inspiring, and living well, and seeming productive and happy, I'm inspired by that. So I'm excited to have a conversation with Dr. Noel Lloyd. Noel Lloyd. What do you
You can
prefer?
call me Noel.
Noel. Okay. Thank you. How does it make you feel when I say that? Like 50 years in practice, Noel.
Well, I graduated from Palmer Chiropractic College in 1971. And
I wasn't even
I'm,
born.
yeah, well, yes, a lot of people, that's right. You and a lot of folks. Uh, and then I started practicing right after that. And well, I mean, what I didn't know would fill books, right?
Hmm.
But I I love my practice. Um, Yeah, I was a TGIMer. Thank God it's Monday. I get to go to the
Mm.
clinic. And I would leave the clinic sometimes on a Friday, so happy that I would have tears in my eyes because of
Mm.
what I got to do as a chiropractor.
Mm. And what do you
So
attribute those feelings to? Like, was it like, what inspired you to become a chiropractor?
I grew up in Everett, Washington, which is a little mill town north of Seattle. And I was at Legion Memorial Park with my family on a picnic when I was 5 or 6, and I was hanging by my knees from the monkey bars. And I said, "Look, Dad," and let go from my knees and went straight down on top of my head on the hard packed dirt. And my dad thought I was dead because I was lifeless for half the time he was running toward me. And then I started screaming like a banshee. And I got to the hospital and I had had a concussion. And the doctors said, just watch Noel and look for these things, but he's going to be okay. Well, I got sick and I stayed sick off and on for about a year. And so finally, now remember, I'm going to be 77 in a couple days. And so this was a good number of years ago, over 70 years ago,
Mm.
before chiropractors were considered accepted. And so a woman cornered my mother in a grocery store and begged her to take me to a chiropractor. And I got a chiropractic adjustment. It was a Palmer graduate, an HIO Palmer
Mm.
toggle. I didn't
Mhm.
much care for it, didn't like it. But it was one of those miracle adjustments because of what happened with me. My entire family ended up in chiropractic care. My mom, my dad, my sister, aunts and uncles. So everybody in chiropractic care. So I'm driving home with my father at age 11. I'm playing with a hole in the upholstery of our 1955 DeSoto. And my dad's looking out the windshield and he says, "You're not too young to think about what you would like to do for a living." And I remember thinking, I am too. I'm 11. And my dad, who never gave advice, said, "You could be a chiropractor, you could help people, you could be your own boss, you could make a good living." So, because my dad never gave advice, I found it the easiest thing in the world to say, "Oh, okay." So, I decided at age 11 to become a chiropractor.
Mm. Amazing. It
And
makes me think
I
of,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
My son, my youngest son, will be 20 this year, and he just started his studies at the New Zealand College of Chiropractic.
Hmm.
And he told me the reason he wanted to be a chiropractor was because he just saw the joy that his dad's a chiropractor too. He sees that we both build very different practices, very different lifestyles in many ways, but we both have this love for what we do every day. And he's like, I just want some of that. Like, if I can make a great lifestyle and make an impact on the world and be healthy and happy, like, I want to do that. Plus, he's been raised, in a very healthy chiropractic, healthy lifestyle, right? So he sees the benefits.
Yes,
He sees, like, I don't get sick as often. I perform really well. I sleep really well. He's just really immersed himself in health and healing. But I love what you said. Like, you saw something inside you at that time, even though you were only 11, and off you went. Didn't look back, it sounds like.
I remember I was at a friend's house and his father was an orthopedic surgeon and I was having dinner and he said, "Why don't you take this chiropractic thing all the way and become a physical therapist?" And I got angry. Now, I didn't show that I was angry. I wasn't rude. I was polite, but I thought, why am I so angry? And it was because chiropractic wasn't being respected, and I found chiropractic for me, for my personal health, it was just absolutely wonderful, and everybody in my family
Mm-hmm.
got chiropractic care.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a chance to be a chiropractor,
Mm-hmm.
which was which was just wild. I mean, I went to work to do what I absolutely love to do.
Mm-hmm.
I got involved with DE when I was at
Mm-hmm.
Palmer,
Yeah.
and I was very philosophically sound. I heard Reggie Gold when I was
Mm.
at Palmer, and it was like somebody threw the floodlights on in a dark, dark room. I mean, I knew chiropractic philosophy, and I remember above, down, inside out. But when Reggie spoke, all of a sudden it was all 3D and it was in beautiful color.
I
And
think anyone who's
and
heard Dr. Gold speak could attest to that.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Anyway, um, and I remember I was at school with Guy Reekman, who just recently passed away.
Yeah.
Guy was a student while I was at Palmer as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, there was exciting times, and gratefully that excitement translated into my own practice.
Mm-hmm. So, let's fast forward a few years. So, you knew that 11 you were going to be a chiropractor. You graduated from Palmer in 71. Did you jump right into private practice or did you have any other practice styles, that you started? Like, were you an associate? Did you do anything else before you opened your own practice?
I was an associate with a very nice guy,
Hmm.
Dr. Sidney Stock, and he had a different practice philosophy than I did, and so I wanted to go out on my own. And I ended up in my own little 820 square foot office in Bellevue, Washington. But what I knew about practice development and practice building and about the business of the practice, you could put on the head of a pin in 10-foot letters. I was clueless, perfectly clueless.
Mm.
So after had been in practice for a while and going to technique seminars, a good friend of mine, Bill Hainline, had ended up at a Chuck Gibson seminar.
Hmm.
And he told me the things he was learning, and I became a Chuck Gibson client. And all of a sudden, my 100 visits a week became 200. Then my 200 visits a week became 300.
Hmm.
And and I was learning how to package absolutely great chiropractic care in a very,
Hmm.
very efficient clinical model, which I
Right.
was just having a ton of fun with.
Yeah. And you did that for a number of years. And at one point, you had to stop practice.
Yes. So I had gotten up to about, I was most comfortable at about 400 patient visits a week. I had been at five,
Yeah.
and I had a couple of associates at that time, but then I had a career ending injury. I was in Sun Valley, Idaho. I was skiing behind these rock star skiers. I thought I was a rock star. I was wrong. And
Hmm.
I hurt my neck badly, had a blown disc in my neck. A neurosurgical consult said that I needed a bilevel fusion, which I did not do. But
Hmm.
I had two really good friends. One was my associate, who was an absolutely wonderful chiropractor. And he says, "Noel, I don't know how to tell you this, but at least for a while, you can't practice."
Hmm.
And so I had a new house, a new wife, a new baby. I had all these new things, new debt, right? And what was I going to
Mm-hmm.
do?
Mm-hmm.
And I had only ever wanted to be a chiropractor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to learn how to develop associates because I couldn't at that point in time. And I'd been in practice for about 10 years, a little bit
Mm-hmm.
longer than 10 years, and had built a large personal practice.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
needed, if I was going to stay in chiropractic, somebody else was going to have to do the adjusting because
Mm-hmm.
I was in no shape to.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me that an injury to your neck or your head, so when you fell when you were a little guy, chiropractic adjustment changed your life, and then
Yes,
another injury to your neck changed your life again, right? I mean, it
changed
can
my life
happen just
again.
like that. Yeah.
It was, I was I honestly didn't. I was lying in bed awake and I was thinking, I, I was seeing a lot of patients. I was making a lot of money. And then all of a sudden I couldn't see those patients anymore. And I tried to push through. I was told
Mm-hmm.
not to practice, but I thought,
Mm-hmm.
screw that. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
practice. I have to. And I was in so much pain. My
Mm-hmm.
wife said sleeping in bed with me was like sleeping with somebody on a trampoline because I was continually moving and trying to find the place where I wasn't hurting. So
Mm-hmm.
I gave up practice, but I what I started to do was to analyze the business of the practice and analyze
Mm-hmm.
the business of hiring and developing associates.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned, first of all, I learned that I needed to work on the business development part,
Mm-hmm.
and then working on the developing associates part. And what I was able to do was to hire a bunch of associates. And I never owned more than 5 clinics at a time. But after I
Mm-hmm.
did so well with my first clinic, I thought, let's do another one. Let's do another one. Let's do another
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was meeting all these great chiropractors who I was working with inside what I call today, what I call the win-win associate development system. And I gave them opportunities to own clinics. And so I did 10 clinics total.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I could keep my hand in chiropractic, even though
Mm-hmm.
my hands weren't in chiropractic. And I
Mm-hmm.
was developing young chiropractors to help people have fun and make money.
It's like you kept your heart in chiropractic
I
more
kept my
than,
heart in it. Yeah.
yeah. But that must have been an incredible time for you. Did you struggle with any kind of identity, like, question? Like, I know so many docs that, I mean, even during, there was a few years ago where we all had to close our practices and all kinds of crazy things were happening. But like, the identity of being a chiropractor and being in the office every day, and this is who I am and what I do. What was that like for you transitioning out of patient care into I'm a clinic operator, I'm a businessman now?
I would go to the clinic because I knew how to get up and get dressed and go to the clinic.
Hmm.
But then I couldn't practice and I couldn't work on people. And there were days, not entire days, but there'd be a couple hours I'd sit in there and I thought, well, what in the world did I do? And so I started to analyze the business part.
Mm,
And what I found out is that clinics could function very, very, very efficiently if you worked on the business. And then I also worked on developing the associate part.
hmm.
Um, how to interview, how to find somebody who had shared goals. I believe that shared goals builds unity. And then to recruit that person to what I call a win-win vision. I learned to find somebody who wanted to help a lot of people, have a lot of fun, and make great money, and then offer an opportunity for them to help as many people as they wanted, have as much fun as they wanted, make as much money as they wanted while working for me.
Mm,
And so I was in charge of the environment. And so I wanted to make sure that we had great marketing and we had great retention. And I would analyze my doctor's strengths and weaknesses.
hmm.
And we would set goals and I would recruit them to reaching those goals, not my goals, but their goals. And by the way,
Yeah.
this is something that I think everybody should write down.
Hmm.
When you're coaching your associate, you find out what he or she wants to do, and you coach them to reach their goals while working for you.
Hmm.
An interesting feature in chiropractic colleges today is that 51% or more are young women, most of
Yes.
whom most of whom want to also be wives and moms.
Hmm.
And if you gave many of those young women an opportunity to work in a setting where they could help people have fun, make great money, and you took care of the business environment. So all they had to do is come in, participate in the marketing, of course, participate in, of course, be responsible for patient care. They would be thrilled to have somebody else worry about the business part of things.
Hmm.
So, and in fact,
Yeah.
a lot of my doctors now, my clients in my company, Five Star Management, some of their most outstanding and grateful associates are young women who want to have families and be also great chiropractors.
Hmm. I think it starts with people really getting clear on who they are and what their best skills are, but also how that will evolve with time and what do they actually want right now. So yeah, if I had young children, when I did have young children, I actually was able to take a year out of practice because my husband at the time
Yes.
just took over and I was so thankful that I could just be at home and be a mom and our business, was stable and people that I looked after were getting taken care of. But most docs don't have that luxury. So to have an option to look at what do you want, who are you, and what's then the
Mhm.
how, right? I think that starts with the
Right.
asking yourself those questions, not any differently than you having to ask yourself, okay, so I can't practice as a chiropractor. What do I want? How am I going to do it? What skills do I have? And evolving your own business with your own abilities as time went on.
Well, I I love public speaking. I like coaching. And I also really was quite good at patient care. And so one of the things that I would do is I would recruit chiropractors and I would train them to do marketing, train them to do new patient orientation class, train them to do a day one, a day two, train them to handle objections, and then also train them on the clinical side, how to do a great exam, how to do great patient care, how to stay in a patient valued relationship. And then I had an opportunity to speak at Parker. There was an airline had folded up, and a good
Hmm.
number of Parker speakers weren't going to make it into Dallas, Texas. And someone said, Noel can be one of your speakers. And so I got up and I spoke to a group of about 55 doctors. And I had such wonderful, wonderful feedback that eventually I started a company that I call Five Star Management.
Hmm.
And for the vast majority of years that I did Five Star, I've done Five Star for over 40 years now. People came to me because they wanted new patients, and I was really good at marketing, still am.
Hmm.
But then I started to meet the busy, successful chiropractor who wanted help, wanted freedom, and wanted to make extra money. And I said, well, hey, I know how to do that. I can teach you how to develop associates like I developed associates.
Hmm.
So today, even though I'll be 77, my wife said, when do you think you'll retire? And I said, I don't, I don't think about that. I
Yeah.
don't think because I have so much fun doing what I do right now.
Hmm.
So I help people find great associates and develop them inside the win-win model. In fact, earlier today I was on a Zoom with about 3 dozen of my
Hmm.
clients, and one young man who's been with me 12 and a half years. He said, hey, I've increased by 750%. 750%. That young
Incredible.
man, his practice is chasing $4 million.
Hmm. Hmm.
And he did it all through developing an opportunity for associates to come in. Now, his associates make great money.
Yeah.
He makes great money. The
Hmm.
patients get great care. The community is well served. So, one of
Hmm.
the reasons we call it win win is because there are no losers in the
Right.
equations. So, anyway,
What do you feel, are some of the keys if listeners are listening to you and they're like, well, I'd like to have an associate. Are there certain criteria that you would suggest would make a doctor, should encourage a doctor to consider a criteria, having on associates?
yes, I do.
Okay.
Very specifically, you need to have a practice that's worthy of replication. There
Hmm.
was a very, very nice guy who called me from someplace on the East Coast, and he said, I want to get a couple of associates in here so I can pull back from what I'm doing. And I said, well, great. How many visits a week are you seeing?
Hmm.
60.
Hmm.
I said, well, that's not the way this works.
No.
You need to have a practice. And I found out that there is, I believe, a minimal size, someplace between 120 and 160 patient visits a week. It needs to collect some money. You need to have a practice that's worthy of replication. And I said to
Hmm.
this one guy, would you like to have two people under your roof doing exactly what you do? And he said, I sure would, because he had a $250,000 practice. At
Hmm.
when I say $250,000 net.
Right.
So he had about a $500,000 practice. I think that after somebody gets to be
Yeah.
about 75, 80% as busy as they can be, and they've got a good business, that they should think about training another pair of hands under their roof because
Hmm.
people can they can develop associates to help as many people have as much fun and make as much money as they want to while working for them.
Hmm.
And that's the whole secret, is that I train doctors how to take what they know, package it up, find the right associate combination, and bring that person on and launch them into success. And the thing that you might not think about is that the clinic director who does that really, really likes the process. I've heard
Hmm.
people say, I think that it would be kind of boring to babysit a bunch of ungrateful chiropractors, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, if you're babysitting, that would be boring. But if you're coaching somebody who's recruited to a win win process and who has goals that they know you are invested in, then it's your colleagues and you're a team and you're working together and you're the coach and they're the player.
Hmm.
I tell my clients that when their associates leave the clinic and head for home, they need to be thinking, Dr. Lloyd is on my side. Dr. Lloyd, it's important to me. Excuse me, it's important to Dr. Lloyd how I do. He wants me to be successful.
Hmm.
It's not just that I hired another associate and threw him or her against the wall to see if they stick.
Right.
It's not a really good recipe.
It sounds really relationship based and it sounds very grounded in humans treating other humans well and building something great together. You must have docs that come to you who maybe have tried to hire other associates and haven't it hasn't worked. What
Yes.
are, are there some consistent mistakes that you observe that doctors will make that ruin what could be a good associate agreement?
Yes. In fact, I'd say 85% of the time that the associateship has trouble, it's the clinic owner's fault. He or she didn't have a job or an opportunity that had any success in it. Only the job was come and work for me, take care of my patients, and I'll pay you pennies on the dollar, and 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 I'll seldom say thank you. I
Hmm.
mean, that's a terrible job, terrible
Yeah,
job.
no, I wouldn't sign up for it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so you need to offer a position that that young chiropractor can say, hey, that'd be great. I've got associates. In fact, we talked about this today on the Zoom call. One young man, he, as an associate, makes about a third of $1 million. Now, not at the expense of his clinic owner, because he produces a little over $1 million collected money as an associate.
Right. Right.
And the question might be, why would that guy stay in that associate position if he's that success oriented and that good at taking care of patients? Because
Hmm.
you provide the opportunity for him. So you first have to have a practice that's worthy of replication, and then secondly, you can't just tell somebody do as I do. I think you have to be a coach, and you have to coach somebody based on their goals. I was talking to a young woman, her name was Rachel, and she had a terrible associateship before she worked for my client. And I know for a fact that my client was talking to me on a regular basis. How can I help Rachel be more successful, help more people have more fun, make more money? And that's the win-win mindset. Not what I can get out of an associate, but if I'm in a
Hmm.
good business relationship, how can I invest in my associate? Because if I'm set up correctly with my business relationship, I'll do fine financially.
Hmm.
I just want to have a bunch of people under my roof, helping people,
Hmm.
having fun, making money. And I tend to the business environment. So I'd say the mistake is not knowing a repeatable system that consistently takes, and not superstars, because you don't need to have a superstar associate in order for him or her to have a wonderful practice under your roof.
Hmm.
In fact, if you take what I would say is a seven, somebody who's a seven, they're not a
Hmm.
10. A 10 isn't going to work for me and isn't going to work for anybody for very long. But if I have a
Hmm.
seven and I put them in a system that's a nine or a 10, they can perform like a nine or a 10.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're basically what I'm hearing is that you think the biggest mistakes that docs will make when they're trying to bring in an associate is they make it all about them, right? They're looking, how can I gain
Yes.
from you? Now I've got this passive income coming into my office because I'm going to get a percentage of what you're billing, when it's got to be flipped around to be a positive, to be a win-win solution. It's the docs need to be coming at it, well, how can I help you?
Right.
And gain, in my coaching experience, in my just impact of helping another doctor, that mentoring coaching value that you and I both have because we do it with other docs as well, is gaining that for the doc that hires the associate, and then the associate gets put into a position where they win, they make good living. They're, as you said, you keep saying this and I want to dive into this, they're helping people, they're having fun and making good money, right? So
Right.
if you can check
That's the
off those
trifold
things.
objective.
Yeah, I like that the having fun is in there.
Well, if it's not fun, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I agree. But sometimes I encourage docs to have more fun in their practices, and they don't quite grasp what. Look, what do you mean? I'm like, well, it's joyous what you're doing. You're helping people build in health. And to me, I mean, I appreciate a fun environment. That's just my personality as well. But I like hearing it from you that it's something you're coaching your doctors to have, because some people think it has to be really clinical and stale, and I've never personally grasped that. So,
Well, one of the things that I learned, and I learned this decades ago, is that I needed to make my team training and my associate training fun.
hmm,
Now, it's serious,
hmm,
but it needs to be fun. It needs to be enjoyable. And part of the fun is the goal of the training is for them to help more people and have more fun and make more money.
hmm,
And so it's fun when somebody knows what you want, is an expert at helping you get it. And before you go into training, that person says, I see this strength, and this strength. I think you're
Mhm.
coming along so well. I
Mhm.
want to support you in. I want us to work on these other three things. We're going to move forward based on your strengths, and I'm going to support you in the stuff that you need to do better. Now, I'm on your side. I'm always
Mhm.
going to tell you the truth, but I want to see you succeed. Oh, I've got I've got a story. I was telling one of my clients that my goal was for all of my associates to break my best ever numbers. Because if I'm in a business relationship with a young man or a young woman, if they see more patient visits than I have, if they collect more money than I collected, if they had more fun than I had while working for me, I'm going to be just fine.
Mhm.
And this doctor said to me, nobody can break my records. And I said, you know what? That's an awfully expensive attitude. And he says, well, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. But it's so great if you can get the ego out of the way.
Mhm.
And whom do you want to work with? Somebody who wants to see you succeed past their best ever numbers, or somebody who wants to hold you back and keep information from you if you
Mhm.
turn out being a if you turn out to be a superstar who can exceed their numbers.
Mhm.
A couple of years ago, I had lunch with a young man who beat all my clinical records, Dr. Craig.
Mhm.
And we had the best time. And he sat across the table from me at lunch with tears in his eyes. And he said, I cannot thank you enough for what you did for me. Now, he went on to be wildly, wildly successful, bought a clinic from me, ended up selling that clinic, having multiple associates. I mean, just a storied career. Great,
Mhm.
great guy. And he was grateful for the fact that that's exactly what I wanted for him.
Mhm. Um, with being in business for 40 years, I'm sure you've seen some things change.
50 years.
Okay, but 40 years with your management company, right?
Yeah,
So
that's right. That's true.
with
I
with
have. I
coaching
really have.
people, I mean, we
Yeah.
could talk about a lot of different things with all of your experience, but like,
Right.
what kind of things have you noticed, within the profession? Like, are you giving people different advice now in their partnership and associate agreements than you were 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Or has there been some foundational things that have stayed consistent? How was the business had to adapt based on if you notice any changes in the profession, at large?
Well, I love low overhead.
Mm-hmm.
I did 10 clinics. I built one clinic, which was a palace where I spent too much money. And I built 9 clinics that were nice but they were very inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever referred somebody to a chiropractor based on his carpet or his counter
No.
or his wall covering, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you want to have something that's nice, but not something that's classier than you are or
Hmm.
classier than your patients, right? So I love overhead, low overhead. I
Yeah.
think the mechanics of developing team members has changed very, very little. The only the only question I have for me is, am I getting better and better and better at that? Identifying strengths and moving people forward. I'm betting that your kids, you identified their strengths and moved them forward on their strengths. If you've got an athlete, or if you've got a student, or if you've got somebody who does art or music, you want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that they get a chance to go as far as they can in athletics or math or music or art, and you support them in the areas that they need support. And so those things haven't changed.
Mm-hmm.
I have noticed that there are some chiropractors that have super, super high priced programs
Mm-hmm.
and heavy, heavy sales. And I think to myself that if at some point in time I would have to bring my mom or my dad, now deceased, if I had
Mm-hmm.
to bring them to a chiropractor who had super, super high price, heavy sales programs. I would probably not do it. What I love, and I mean love, is to be able to give recommendations that I would want for my family,
Mm,
and to price it in such a way. And I don't think you should be bottom of the barrel pricing. I don't think that you should. I think that you should be mid to mid high pricing, and that you should give absolutely great service for that. But um, I I I think I just want to see the heart for the patient, because that patient will refer you gobs and gobs of people, and they will stay under care, and they will thank God for you. And when they get together at Thanksgiving, uh, I heard from a young woman who I hadn't spoken to in probably 40 years. She said, whenever we get together at a family get together, somebody will bring up your name and we'll talk about what it was like to go see you back when you were in practice. And
mm,
I said, oh, that's so nice. Why do you guys do that? Well, Dr. Lloyd, you don't know how much you help mom, or how much you help dad, or how much you help my sister, or how much you help me.
mm.
And so I believe in being in that type of exchange. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes me wonder if you miss actual hands-on practice.
Well, I remember, I remember I had rehabbed after about, it was about 10 years after my accident.
Mm,
And one of my busiest associates had 103, 104 patient visit day. And he called me and he said, I swear this is true. My flight has been canceled and I can't get anything out. I won't be back into Seattle tomorrow until whatever time. Will you please cover my practice? So was I was thrown in on 103, 106 patient visit day. I can't remember. I just know it was
yeah,
slightly over 100.
yeah,
I was I was dragging it the last three or four or five adjustments. I was just barely making it to the next stable.
yeah,
So at 77, I mean, I still have really good hands, but
yeah,
I'm just so impressed with the young chiropractors today that I'm
yeah,
interviewing and talking to and developing.
yeah.
So yeah,
You
maybe
you
that's a
moved on to different
younger
things.
man, a younger woman's game, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, what are you doing these days, like yourself, to stay so fit and vital and healthy? And has that changed over your lifetime?
I get up in the morning,
Hmm.
early in the morning, and I read my Bible and I pray.
Mm.
And I try to get to the club. I try to get to the health club, but it's getting harder and harder and harder to do.
Why is that?
I, 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 I don't know. Maybe it's because of the collection of birthdays, right?
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Uh, I, uh, and then my wife and I, we go up to the beach. We don't have a television up at the beach.
Okay.
And so I get in the sauna and I get in the hot tub and I walk on the beach and we walk our little dog. And I try to eat as little sugar as possible and low carbohydrates. I'm not strict
Mhm.
keto. I'll
Yeah.
probably have some birthday cake in 2 days.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're just living a healthy life. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good day, right? Starting with some faith, movement, or getting to your club, but beach, sauna, hot tub, healthy diet. So much of what we teach people in our practices is how to stay healthy, right? So that they
Yes.
continually they see better results. And not all docs, share that information in their practices with other people, but it's got to be a foundation of how you're living because if you're not staying healthy as a doc, you can't give to anyone else, your associates, your practice, your family. And it surprises me how many people can get off track sometimes with their own personal health because life gets busy or they get, too many other demands. I'm like, you got to prioritize your own health first.
I'm really fortunate. I have a great genetic inheritance. My mother who lived to be just shy of 94, and my father, who was 89. They exercised and they ate correctly.
Mm,
Um, and they were really, really good role models. And so
mm,
genetically, I have been
mm,
blessed, I believe.
mm,
Um, th- and uh, and then also I had some really, really good examples. My mother was a health nut. I was under chiropractic care. I was not getting the polio vaccine. I was not
mm,
getting all the other vaccinations when I was a kid. My
mm.
mother was an anti-vaxxer. She didn't know it. She didn't know it at the time. And whenever I had any health issue, the first place I would go to is to the chiropractor. And almost every single time, that was all that I needed was a
Mhm,
chiropractic adjustment.
mhm. Yeah, people ask me sometimes, what do I do when my sons, get sick and, like, well, they get adjusted first and foremost, and then they rest and, some soup and some light foods, but they're really good at listening to their body. And typically, they don't need anything else after that, right? The body does an amazing
That's
job of
right.
healing. And my
That's
sons
right.
even, they'll observe it now. They're like, getting a little run down. I'm like, oh yeah, and like I've been staying up too late, or my diet's been not so great lately, or they can pinpoint some of the stressors on their body. But I've raised my kids in the same model. It's, they haven't had the only time they've had pharmaceuticals is if they've broken bones for a little bit of pain relief. But aside from that, they're healthy and well, and I'm thankful for it.
Right.
So before we wrap up here, I'd love to know, what is your best advice for the new grads? You see some of them, right, in your clients, but if someone's listening to this and they're just getting started, what would you say from your vantage point now?
So let's go back to the last quarter of chiropractic school.
Mm,
Get a group of friends together and do a road trip and visit as many successful practices as you can. How do you find successful practices? Well, you ask some of your professors, especially the technique professor, who's got the busiest NUCA practice? Who's got the busiest activator practice? Who's got the busiest Gonstead practice? Who's got the busiest whatever practice? And go visit. And typically, and this is what I found, is that super busy, successful chiropractors are proud to show you what they're doing.
hmm
And take a look, because if you're in chiropractic college, I'm going to promise you, unless you had some type of exposure from your referring doctor to go to chiropractic practice,
hmm
you don't know what's out there and what's available. And I look for doctors who love practice, and I look for teams that are happy to be there.
hmm
And so as a student, I would suggest that you would investigate a bunch of different practices, see what's out there and what's
hmm
available and what it can be.
hmm
Secondly, I would say when you graduate, I think you should associate.
mm,
Unless you have some special skills, some talent, you already know that you're going to be in business and you have some business backing. Your goals should pick your associateship.
hmm
Your goals should pick. Don't be somebody's first associate if you can
Right.
help it, because they don't know
hmm
what they're doing.
Mm,
Speak to the associates at the practice that you would like to work with. What's it really like to work here? And by the way, if the clinic you want to work in is a really, really good clinic, the clinic owner would say, hey, I want you to speak to Miranda here, and I'd like you to speak to Jamie here, or I'd like to speak to for you to speak to Jason, and ask them any question you want. They'll tell you the absolute God's truth.
hmm
So speak to the associates about what it's like to work there,
hmm
and then learn. Give yourself at least a 2-year postdoc fellowship in chiropractic success. So
Hmm.
let's say that you're 26, 27 years old when you graduate, and give yourself to 29, 30 years old And you learn how to market, you learn how to produce new patients. If you don't know how to produce new patients, you'll struggle. If you do, you won't. It's just that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to put together a good care plan, how to help people stay committed to a care plan from start to maintenance care.
Mm-hmm.
So you're putting together your manual. And then if you have a great associateship and you like your clinic owner,
Mm-hmm.
you might want to stay there.
Yeah.
Or you're ready at that point in time. There was a young couple who was on my Zoom today,
Mm-hmm.
and she had practiced with another couple that were on my Zoom today. And she had spent a year there. She said, I've chosen your place. I want to learn from you. And then I want to go out on my own. And they said, come on, we'll teach you all that we can.
Yeah.
And so that young chiropractor then went to practice with her husband, and now they have a very, very successful practice. So do an associateship as a 2-year postdoc fellowship in chiropractic success, but
Yeah.
make sure that somebody can train you. Here's a good question. Do you have a training syllabus for your associates?
Hmm.
That's what a prospect should be asking his or her clinic director.
Mm-hmm.
And if the clinic director looks at you like, what in the world are you even talking about? It may not be the best hire that you can do. You've got to have somebody who can train you other than just say, look at what I do and do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have somebody who is going to coach you based on your goals, going to teach you how to get into a patient valued relationship and stay in that relationship. And then at the end of your 2 years, if you're going to go out on your own, have somebody who will go over the business aspects with you, because the most important thing is how to get new patients. Second most important thing is how to stay in a patient valued relationship.
Hmm.
Make sure that you're good clinically. And then if you have that, handling the business part is important. So that's what I would say for the young person. So the young
There's so much
person,
learning, right? Like the schools are designed to
oh,
teach you clinically, and then you've got
yeah.
to learn how to run a business and how to communicate and how to market. And I mean, you could be learning that while you're in school, but the road is long in building a successful practice, and finding the right people to support you, I think, is crucial.
And you've heard this. I know those who can do,
Hmm.
those who can't teach. And so, the question, and I know that there are wonderful professors. I mean, great, great doctors who love their kids. Um, but doing an actual practice today, you need to practice in a practice and have somebody teach you how to do marketing.
Mm,
If somebody's in a practice where they're keeping all the secrets from you, you're probably not in a good place. If you're working for Big Cairo, I call it Big Cairo, one of
mm,
those big chains, right?
yeah,
They're not going to teach anything because they're afraid that you're going to leave if you learn.
yeah. That's the
And I
ego piece
think
that we talked about earlier.
that's the ego piece, and that's also the captive. That's the
Yeah,
galley slave piece.
yeah. I'm sure that over your career, you said something way at the beginning, just to circle back to it, that I think might be a good way to inspire docs as we wrap up here. But you said, what I didn't know would fill pages about.
Right.
So when you hit obstacles, when you face challenges, whether it was with your accident or personal life or with associates or with life's random situations. What are the kind of things that have grounded you in getting through them? Because all docs are dealing with stuff, right? Sometimes it's a divorce.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a sick child. Sometimes it's not finding a right associate situation or not making enough money.
Right.
Everyone has problems, even they tell you the otherwise. So how do you get through the things that have challenged you?
Well, one thing, I do a Zoom every Tuesday called Win-Win Associates Q&A, and we all get together and we're all headed in the same direction, finding great associates and developing them to high level of proficiency and performance under our roof. We're all working together.
Hmm.
So people will come and they'll ask questions. And I've got people on all of these Zooms, somebody will ask a question. Like there was a question today, like, what do I do with my associate? She had a particular question. I said, uh, I I know that I've got four people that have already dealt with that. So run with a group of people that are headed in the direction
Right.
that you're going with. So don't. This is too hard to do alone.
Find your tribe.
Um, yeah, find your tribe, and
Yeah.
you need to admire the goals of the coach and admire the goals of the other members of that group, and then become part of that group and become fully engaged. Um,
So that's something that's
n-
helped you. I'm sure you've had your own coaches
oh,
in your own lifetime and mentors and
I love
colleagues even
Chuck
that have
Gibson.
inspired you. Yeah.
Chuck Gibson's in his 90s.
Mm.
Helped me absolutely tremendously. He was a great, great, great guy. And then I would ask my questions, or I'd be at seminars and there would be other wonderful chiropractors around me. So get with the right tribe, get with the right group, hang with that group, go with that group. I've got people who have been
Hmm.
five-star management clients for 25 years and best year every
Incredible.
year for 25
Congratulations.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and they're just they're part of the group.
Hmm. I think that's a great way to, wrap up our time together today. You've had an interesting life. You're helping lots of people, and I can hear that relationships and people and connection are not only one of the things that help you successfully have your clients work with other doctors and build that good relationship and that win-win solution, but it seems like it's something that's also foundational to you and something that being around the right people, having mentors yourself, having a community of people that you can learn from and connect. Are you an Aquarius? Because you said your birthday's coming up.
I don't
Are you a
know.
Pisces or Aquarius? Because you're close, because I'm an Aquarius too, and I like to connect people. And so connection
Okay.
is one of those things that is just really important to me too. Like, so I hear that about you. I hear that relationships are at the heart of a lot of the work that you do, whether it's with your own clinics, your own associates, or with your clients.
I don't take a client unless I like their goals.
Hmm.
Because if I'm going to need to work with you, I've got 100 clients.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to need to work with you, I have to like what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you need to have admirable goals, goals that your associate would be proud to be a part of, goals that your team members would be proud to be a part of,
Mm-hmm.
goals that if your patients knew your clinical goals and how you want to develop people and things like that, that your patients would be proud to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think everybody should get out of all debt and have a bunch of great investments, whether that's real estate or stocks or bonds or whatever else that you might want to do. I want you to do very, very well.
Yeah.
Um, but I want you to be in the business for the right reason.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, I think, that's what I hope that's what keeps me coming back day after day in a way that I still enjoy it.
Well, because you want to have fun too.
I do. I've
Like,
heard that's true.
yeah. Well, I appreciate your time today in this conversation. I think listeners will gather plenty from your insights. What is the best way for people to reach out to you if they'd like to learn more about your programs and your coaching, or you have your own podcast? We'll include this all in the show notes, everyone. But what would you like people to reach you?
myfivestar.com, myfivestar.com, myfivestar.com.
Excellent. Any final thoughts before we wrap up today, Noel?
Thank you so much. I was right. You are a good interviewer.
Oh, thank you. Like I said earlier, everything is get better with consistency and practice, right? So I've also could fill
Right.
pages with mistakes, and maybe one day there'll be a tape of the bloopers of when I was doing television and how many takes it would take, and everything is better with practice. But I enjoy this. I enjoy having conversations with interesting people like you. And I'm going to quote Dr. Jeff Langmaid, who I also interviewed recently, because when I asked him how to define success, he said, I just really like doing cool stuff with cool people. And I think that kind of sums it up why I'm still doing this podcast because having interesting conversations with people who are doing great things and making the world a better place warms my heart. So I appreciate your compliment and I appreciate you and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
I'm looking forward to it as well. Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Bye.